All right. Chair, entertain a motion to come out of executive session. Got a motion. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We're out of executive session. There was no action taken in executive session. Chair will recognize Mr. Livingston for item 4A.
14A?
4A.
That was the executive session item?
As discussed.
Oh, thank you. Move for approval as discussed in executive session and move forward.
Okay, that's the motion on the table. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor: Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
Any opposed? Like sign. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move for reconsideration.
Got a motion for reconsideration. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of reconsideration signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion fails. All right. Next, we have item
14A.
14A.
Mr. Chair, the the Hospitality Tax Ad Hoc Committee met and to approve the funding plan that was presented by Mr. Driggers, and the committee's recommendation was for approval of that item.
All right. So is that 14A and one or just one at a time?
Just 14A.
Okay. The motion on the table is for approval. It's been properly second.
Chairman,
Yes.
we didn't already previously, remind me again, this item was not voted on?
No, it was supposed to come forward, and because of the flood, it was all deferred.
Well, what did
First
we
reading.
vote on at the last meeting related to?
The contract. We were supposed to take this up, but it just was never taken up. Yeah.
After executive session.
Okay, this is the entire package.
Let me read it. 14A, Destination Park Funding Plan. The funding plan on page 163 of your council agenda outlines the funding of the following projects: Water Park, Pinewood Lake, Sports Arena, and Lake Murray. The committee recommends approval of the funding plan as presented in your agenda on page 163. The committee met, but we didn't have a quorum to go over the funding plan on yesterday. And once we reviewed it, made sure that the funding plan was the same plan as the September the 22nd meeting, we were all satisfied with. All right?
Okay. There's a motion on the table. It's been properly second. All in favor of that motion signify. Mr. Livingston.
No, ma'am.
This is, Mr. Driggers is here. Mr. Driggers, just quickly, I don't remember, I'm trying to remember what this means in terms of current hospitality tax projects and so forth, in terms of how much money would be left each year if we approve this.
Mr. Livingston, Daniel Driggers, Finance. And I think your question is related to the operating of the Hospitality Tax Fund.
Right.
If you approve this funding plan for the major projects, how much will be remaining?
Yes.
The fund generates about $6.5 million a year.
Right.
So this $2 million will reduce it down to $4.5 million per year. That will fund the tier 1 of the debt service. It will fund your ordinance agencies. It will fund your county promotions, and it will fund your township operating. It will not leave funding, excess funding for the other discretionary agencies.
Mr. Chair. Now, Michelle, go ahead on, let Ms. Dixon go ahead on. I have another question, just from a lady.
Basically, I was just going to ask, since this is first reading item, this is the first,
Those are two different items that we're taking up. One's 14A, and then there's, the motion on the table right now is for 14A, just the, is that correct, Mr. Washington?
Correct.
Which is just the Destination Parks funding plan. I've got you down, Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chair, let me just clarify.
somebody,
what came
clarify
out-
before I ask my question.
What came out of committee, what came out of committee was Mr. Rush moved, seconded by Mr. Washington, to approve the funding plan as submitted, but to defer at council level the issuance of the bond for the sports arena until additional information is obtained. Land purchase, design, operational costs. In addition, the appropriation in the funding for the Pinewood Lake. So we reviewed the plan. Mr. Driggers presented to us the plan on September 22nd. Of course, we were supposed to meet in October, and we had the flooding event. Subsequently, everything moved to council because it was already approved at committee level. The funding plan, and also the bond issues for the water park. And that's where we are right now.
Just for clarification,
Clarify, and then I'm gonna see what.
items, Pinewood, Sports Arena, Lake Morinall, those items have to come back for us for a bond ordinance?
On the funding plan,
Yeah.
it includes the approving the use of $1 million of hospitality tax annually to back the revenue bonds. The 6.9 for the Pinewood Lakes is already approved and in fund balance, and yes, it would come back before council to be appropriated. It sets aside $1 million to fund debt service related to the sports arena, and it does not provide any additional funding for the Lake Murray property at this point. The sports arena, the bond ordinance would have to come back before council.
So we're approving a plan,
You're approving a plan. You're approving a concept that this is.
not dollars at this point or whatever.
That's right.
Did I still have the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess Mr. Livingston clarified my point is that we're just approving the plan and not the appropriation of the funds. And this is, are they both tied into the first reading item?
No.
Well, I see,
There's
now
a
that's the
second.
part I'm not getting.
Well,
I want to know the
that-
difference
that's-
between the two.
14A is approving the concept of the plan. 14A1 is approving first reading to issue the debt that will use that first $1 million in your funding
I
plan.
don't see that in this writing right here.
Water.
Those are two different things.
Clarification as well, Mr. Chair. Did we not approve the water parks contract thus far? So
Yes.
we've approved the contract with the selected.
Yes.
That's correct.
So this next step is just to allocate the dollars.
Provide the dollars for the construction.
All right. All right, well, if I'll be in your office, so you can further explain it.
Okay, you done, Mr. Dickerson?
Yeah, I guess I do, because what I'm seeing here in front of me and what I read in the document, I can't separate the two, and I'm not figuring out the balance between the two and how I see a A, but I don't see a B. That's what I'm concerned about, and I just don't get it.
Okay.
So I'm trying to say if it's the first reading, I can probably get it by the second reading.
Yeah, item, what's on the table right now is item 14A. 14.1 is a separate item,
Okay, all right,
and we're gonna have to put a motion on the table for that one as well.
okay, all right.
All right? Mr. Manning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Driggers, when you listed the things that on the document that would be funded, and then you said, but there would not be funding for those discretionary agencies. Now, that's different than the discretionary grant.
That's correct.
And what amount in this fiscal year have we allocated to what you're referencing as discretionary agencies?
It was just under $2 million, but that was inclusive of your Pinewood Lake. So it's about $1 million a year.
Like this one and this one.
It's the agencies that are funded after the committee reviews the report and it comes to council.
That includes, but is not in totality, what we ended up dividing out at somewhere around 40,000 to each council member?
It does include that.
And that's about half of what it includes.
I don't have that number in front of me about whether it's half or not, but it's
Well,
about
you said
it's
it was
about $1 million.
2 million, you said 1 million went to the lake,
That's right.
and then you said that it included that like around 40,000, there's 11 of us, that's about 440,000, which is close to about $500,000, which would be half of $1 million, which would leave another $500,000. You know I'm not real good with math, but that seems relatively straightforward.
I mean, I understand. I think the logic is sound.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. The motion on the table is for approval. Any more discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. Motion on the table is for approval. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor.
We're voting on 14A, which is the funding plan.
That's just a plan.
Just the plan. All in favor of that motion?
Find the funding.
Yep.
We directed staff to bring back the funding for all of them. And that's what they did, and that was the committee's recommendation.
All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Jackson, Rush, Washington.
All opposed, like sign.
Opposed, Malinowski, Rose, Pierce, Livingston, Dickerson, Manning, Jeter.
That motion fails. Next, we have item 14-1. Mr.
Move
Livingston.
approval for item 14-1.
I got a motion for approval. It's been properly second. I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. McDonald.
Mr. McDonald.
This is gonna be a first reading item.
Mr. Chairman.
I'll get the clarification.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, there may be a problem approving 1A, the bond ordinance, because what the funding plan did was to put into place, or I guess lock into place, at least the money for the debt service money for the water park.
It identified how you're going to pay for the bonds.
So without some assurance that there will be debt service money to pay for the water park, the bond
Well,
ordinance may be
I thought there was another option for doing that as well. Based on using some of the initial dollars to pay for the first few years and whatnot. Or do you need a source to actually secure?
Yeah, in order to issue the debt, we've got to be able to support the 20 years of the debt. I think we've talked about two options. One was to use the H-tax funds to back the revenue bonds. Your intent is obviously that the water park would pay for the debt, but because it's an operating fund, you'd have to back it with H-tax funds. The second alternative we talked about is that you could use the county general obligation bonds if you chose to do that.
All right. Mr. Livingston.
Can, that sheet with the plan on it, could I not just approve that plan for just the water park?
Absolutely.
And that would take care of the problem?
Excuse me, would you ask that question again,
A1.
please?
You mean there was a plan that included the water park and all those other things that we did not approve.
Correct.
And what I'm saying is, why can't we just simply approve a plan at this particular point that would incorporate the water park and then come back later on if we need to include a complete plan with all of them?
Yeah, the only additional dollars you're approving with the plan would be the sports arena, but you could certainly break that up into pieces and approve one without the other.
Clarification.
Right.
Hamlet Lake Park was already approved.
That's right. That's why that's why the funding
Right,
plan would
that's-
not be
yeah.
approving any of that. You're right.
I just want to clarify that point.
All right, Mr. Livingston. Mr. Livingston still has the floor. You done, Mr. Livingston?
Yeah, I'm gonna come back with a motion because there's somebody else
All
talking.
right.
Are you going to
I
make a
have
motion?
Mr.
All right,
Pierce.
I'll defer to Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Manning.
I'm clear, Ms. Triggers, you were just talking about, so the hospitality project in this item is going to be covered, the bonding by hospitality money, not out of general fund bonding money.
Based on the funding
that
plan, that
correct?
is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Okay, Chair, entertain a motion. Mr. Livingston.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think what happened was they were saying the motion for 1A was not appropriate because the plan wasn't approved. I'm trying to figure out how to improve, how to get both of them approved. The plan for
The revenue source for
the revenue source
For the bond.
for the park. I need to know what kind of motion I need to make to take care of both.
Okay, Mr. Livingston, I think it'll take two motions because they're two separate documents, but the plan itself, which is this spreadsheet with the 4 items on it, that is the entire funding plan. I think your question earlier was, can you approve part of that? And the part referenced was the first line on the plan, which is the water park plan. Yes, you can do that. You can approve it separately and approve only that portion of the plan which dedicates or appropriates $1 million in hospitality tax for debt service each year for 20 years.
20 years.
Now, if you do it that way, then that means the remainder of the plan will come back to you for some
Right.
future approval because it's not being approved right now.
That's my point, yes. Now, did we just now approve, defeated 14A? Did we not just voted on 14A?
We defeated 14A. We have not taken up 14-1.
Right, so in order to get back to 14A, I need to make a motion for reconsideration then.
Do you need to you have to
So,
yeah.
Yes.
so what my intent is to reconsider 14A and then make a motion to just simply include the plan for the water park. So my motion is for reconsideration of 14A, which was the plan, the total plan that we just defeated.
Okay, I got a motion for reconsideration of 14A. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. I'm sorry. I got a motion for reconsideration of 14A. Second, I'll second that.
You did, I gave
Yeah.
it back to you.
Okay, all
You've
right.
already finished it.
It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay.
That motion fails. Next, we have item 14-1.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
You're not 14A, you're going back to 14A.
No, they didn't reconsider it.
Oh, we didn't
You
reconsider.
clinched it.
So my understanding is you can't do anything with 14A.
So you can't do anything with it.
So you can't go to 14-1 then? If it didn't because we turned it down.
You turned it down. Yep, so you have 14-1.
No.
No. We did not take up 14A. We did not take up 14-1. We took up 14A.
And we decided not to reconsider 14A, right?
So how does that work?
That means that we can't move forward because 14A was to deny the plan.
Point of order. Can you speak to what is the actual?
We should have reconsidered, but we didn't. We clinched it.
the action that, or the motion that was on the floor was for reconsideration of an item that you did not pass initially. That motion to reconsider failed. As I understood, again, and Mr. Driggers will have to help me, as I understood this, the two things were tied together, and one wouldn't work without the other, according to, and if I'm wrong, maybe you could.
Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, for additional clarification, if you approve 14 sub number 1A, which is the bond ordinance, you can do that even though you haven't approved A, but in doing that, there needs to be a funding source for the debt service identified when you approve it. Otherwise, you're approving debt without a way to pay for it.
All right.
Any more discussion?
Clarification again. In other words, we shall reconsider A, but we decide not to reconsider A. Because the only way you could do the funding plan for 14-1A was to approve a portion of maybe the plan. But we decided, we clinched it just now, instead of saying we will reconsider and approve it.
No.
We decide not to reconsider.
I just don't want.
And if we decided not to reconsider, then 14-1A is, we can't do anything about it. Because we just reconsider, refused to reconsider.
I got it.
Your initial,
Put me down.
your initial vote on this item stands
Yeah.
because you decided not to reconsider that vote.
Yes, so we can't do anything with 14-1A. We should have voted yay to
That's
reconsider.
that's not. I don't agree with that.
Are you finished, Mr.
Because we can
Johnson?
still
Yes,
we can
thank you.
still approve.
No, we
I'll
can't.
put you down, Ms. Dick.
Okay.
Ms. Dickerson.
Mr.
Mr.
Dickerson.
Rush, you recognize.
Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to make a motion that we approve item 14-1 and use the hospitality tax to, what's the name of it, to cover the $1 million to cover the debt service.
Second.
That would be hospitality,
Whichever in
recurring revenue.
recurring revenue.
Right.
All right, there's a, I guess that'd be a substitute motion to,
That's what that's.
No, that's the motion, and I added that to the motion.
Was that second?
yeah, Mr. Livingston seconded the
Yeah.
motion. All right, so there's a motion on the floor. Ms., are you finished, Mr. Rush?
Yep.
Ms. Dickerson, you recognize.
So now, is this particular motion saying that we're just going to do the funding for this water park and all the rest we would be considering at a later date? Is this what we're saying? Is this what we're saying?
I believe the motion that Mr. Rush made will allow you to borrow $15 million up to 20 for the water park to be paid back through hospitality tax. That's what it accomplishes.
And all the rest of those items, we'll be reconsidering them at a different time, so.
They would take a new
Yes,
motion.
that's correct. That's right, Ms. Dickerson.
Did you want to be recognized?
Yeah, I just want to recognize, you finished, Mrs.?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Yeah. When it comes back, I'm just being clear again with Pinewood Lake, because, I mean, that's been for years, right? That has already been approved. So therefore, to consider a funding plan, that plan has already been approved. So it really shouldn't be in this funding
Yeah,
plan.
the only thing that you're-
identifying
that's
to
right.
us what existed, right?
That's right. It has been approved. The only thing you need to spend the money will be a budget amendment or an approval
At the
to
appropriate
appropriate
time.
the funds. That's right.
At the appropriate time. Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand.
In favor, Rush Livingston.
Sorry, we're getting on something.
We got some more.
I'm sorry. Okay, in favor, Rush, Livingston, Manning, and Jeter.
Opposed, like sign.
Opposed, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Dickerson, Washington.
Okay, that motion fails. Next, we have
Do 'em all
the motion period.
Hey, y'all done already cut me out, so I ain't gonna.
Next, we have the motion period. Due to the flood crisis, Mr. Manning, did you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a substitute motion to 16A, being as part of our continuous flood recovery efforts to address the needs of Richland County and to aid those that were adversely impacted by the flooding events. I move to add flood recovery as an agenda item topic to the agenda for the currently scheduled January 12, 2016 special call council meeting to allow council to consider any flood-related matters. Additionally, the council directs the council chairman, vice chairman, and the county administrator to schedule a special called council meeting in the month of January 2016 to address any additional flood-related matters as necessary.
Okay, that's the motion on the table. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I think we have a couple of,
One more.
what else we have?
There's another one that was.
What's the paper?
There's a separate page. Somebody typed.
Ambulance chaser bill.
Against me, so.
Oh, here it was.
Move the, okay. The next motion is to move to have the subcommittee examine the county's EMS service department with input from EMS workers. That will go to DNS.
Move to adjourn.
Motion for adjournment. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor
Christmas.
signify by saying aye.
Happy New Year.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Hey, Troy.